Well, yesterday via Matt Cunningham, we brought you official statistics that showed that since the reintroduction of alcohol restrictions in Alice Springs, there has been some, according to the statistics, reductions in alcohol-related harm in hospitals. This is the presentation to hospitals with alcohol-related crime or injuries. But people on the ground see something very different and perhaps something a little bit more sinister. Joining us once again is Darren Clark, Action for Alice Group's Darren Clark. Darren, good to see you once again. We've spoken in the past about how the restrictions have actually moved some people on. We're seeing people go to Darwin instead because they can't get alcohol in Alice Springs. They're going as far as Mount Isa. We saw these official statistics yesterday, but you don't think that those statistics tell us the full story?
No, I don't, Laura. One, what you've just pointed out there, we had an exodus of the problem drinkers and where the acts of domestic violence on the streets and in homes would occur more frequently. So that moved a lot on. Also, if you look at these stats, they were up to the 17th of March, okay? So, and it was a drop of 40%. But in that week ending up to 17th of March, they're already going up again, increasing by 14% in that week ending. Now, in the last 12 or 13 days here, it's been out of control. So there's a lot more presenting with DV. So we're back to we will be back to that 40% that supposedly has dropped, okay? But also, Laura, we were coming off levels that were probably 200% high. So a 40% drop still has around 162 high. So look, you've got to read into it a lot more, and you've got to see what's going on. But you've also got to be on the ground here because it's got no better here. It's got no better here. I was talking to a local bar owner yesterday. I said, mate, I'm out at 4 o'clock. I see a lot of kids on the street and the drunks are starting to build up again. There's a lot of errant cars driving around, running red lights. One nearly hit me this morning on the way to work. And he goes to me, nothing's changed, mate. It's as bad as it ever was. So I don't know who's trying to pull wool over people's eyes here.
Yeah.
Now, the media here, NT News and things, they just do not know what's going on the ground because they don't talk to the right people. They look at stats and they do a story.
Yeah, look, the stats only tell part of the story, and perhaps in some ways, looking at the stats, it really highlights that Natasha Fyles was too slow to reintroduce these restrictions once again. Only, part of the solution and certainly not the whole solution. We also spoke to Declan Laverty's dad a couple of days ago who said the bad drinker register just simply doesn't work and it's putting kids like his son in danger. How do you see the banned drinker register working in Alice?
A lot of local people here don't like it. I've seen the racist side of it where I'll be allowed to drive through and go and get my alcohol, and the car behind me with Indigenous people in it, they'll have to show their ID. So I don't like that because if you're going to do this, let's do it properly. But it has kind of worked here in Alice Springs because you've got a police presence on bottle shops. But if someone comes in with an edged weapon and says, I want grog, and you refuse them, what's going to happen? They're not carrying that edged weapon for no reason. They will attack someone. Okay, so the trouble is here too, Laura. We've had alcohol restrictions and closed bottle shops for a couple of days a week. Okay, everyone thinks that works. What's replaced that now? We've got an influx of drugs in this town. So now we've got even more violent people on the streets on ice and things like that.
Can I just ask you about that? Because drugs in Alice Springs is absolutely terrifying. Alcohol's bad enough. What's the evidence that you have, anecdotal or otherwise, that drugs have replaced alcohol?
Well, people that feed me information, and obviously I can't disclose that, and I have to protect their identities because otherwise they'll lose their jobs. But the word, and it's a very, very good word, is that the drugs are coming into this town since the alcohol restrictions were brought into in levels that have never been seen before.
Wow. So what type of drugs are we talking about?
We're talking your meth, your ice.
Oh my gosh.
You've got some people. This is what we always dreaded, that one day that ice would get up here, because we know what it does to people. And you get it onto Indigenous communities and to people that are coming into Alice Springs. Wow, this is scary times. So,
mate, that is actually terrifying. If ice takes hold in Alice Springs, is it a significant problem already, or it's not widespread enough? Just kind of give us an idea of that.
I don't know to what extent, but it is widely available and it is widely used. Okay, so we've got a definite problem here. See, a substance abuser is a substance abuser, and most likely will always be a substance abuser. You take one substance off that abuser, they will look for another substance, whether it be hand sanitizer, which has been way out of control here, or they go to a drug. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Prohibition's never worked. So we'll always treat the supply issue. And we shut down bottle shops and we restrict hours and we do this and we do that. But we're not treating the demand problem. We're not treating the underlying issues as to why people substance abuse here. And it's widespread, and it's been a problem for a long time. A long time. And lots of government. This is beyond politics now, mate. Beyond politics, because several governments have failed with this, both federally and Northern Territory. We've got a major problem here, but no one wants to treat the underlying issues and meet them head on. And this bail legislation that's just gone through up there, that's all smoke and mirrors too. That's a no presumption of bail. They can still get bail after having an edged weapon. So the media up here, they're going no bail on the front page of the newspaper today. Well, it's fake news. It's fake news. And you know what? The Labor government here, they're very good with their politics, and their fifth floor is very, very good. They're very good. So what they've done here, they've mentioned the bail. We're going to change the bail legislation. Well, they really haven't changed it because it's a no presumption of bail. But what they've also done, they've thrown a curveball to Leah Finocchiaro, and she's taken it hook, line and sinker and ran with it. And now she's focusing on what kind of weapons should be in that legislation.
Yeah. She
hasn't even looked at the legislation itself, Laura. It's an absolute circus here, absolute circus. And then you watch Parliament, and the member for Breitling here, he gets up after we've had a young guy stabbed, and we had a rally up there. He's asking questions, why didn't a government minister turn up to the rally? Well, I don't know many government ministers that turn up to a rally that's against them. That's political suicide.
Yeah.
It's just nuts, Laura. It's really nuts what goes on up here. It needs federal intervention, and it needs it urgently, because if these drugs and that take hold here in a big way, God help us.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
God help.
Absolutely, it is. We're going to hear from the Northern Territory Chief Minister. She's holding a media conference in about an hour's time. So hopefully she's heard this and she's got a little bit more to say, some more announcements. Darren, as always, good to see you.
Good on you, mate. Thank you very much, Laura.